Now, if you guys are wanting to make the leap into quality American-made pocket knives, you're probably realizing something pretty quick. That the price can jump from budget to premium real quick. So what do you do when you don't want a safe queen that costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars, making you apprehensive about actually carrying it and using the tool as it was intended to be used, but you also don't want something that's just barely slapped together that it says USA made on it, but you can tell is definitely subpar to other overseas made folders. In other words, let's call it what it is, a Goldilocks knife. And very few fall into that category. And now it could easily be argued that Kershaw is king of the sweet spot with the introduction of the VAER XL, now with tons of new variants, including 3 different steels, one being balanced, one for edge retention, one for toughness, and 3 different handle materials with all kinds of different color patterns to choose from, plus a purpose-built EMT design. So here's what we're gonna do. As I get situated, as we're about to go through all these, when I was looking at the prices on these samples, when Kershaw sent me all the different samples, because I've been carrying the standard base model MagnaCut G10 satin blade for a while, I was kind of blown away because all but one can easily be scored for under $200 and significantly less. Like I'm talking like in the 170s to 180s. For all of the features that we're going to unpack, all now the different steel choices, what Kershaw has the potential to be doing with this VAER XL is be giving us the right size, I feel like, for what actually can be used as a tool and not just like pocket jewelry. But also really you dial it in now. You choose what you want, what connects with you, and then you can really get a high functioning tool. That doesn't mean that there aren't competitive options. I'll run in a few just very briefly throughout the video and so much more. So guys, we're just gonna have a ton of fun today, hanging out together, sipping on some coffee. I didn't do espresso. I've only done one today, so that's just my drip. So we'll find out. And everywhere in between, as Mr. GT takes the kids over to the pool, I get to hang out with you and talk some blades. If you are new, welcome. I'm Aaron. This is Gideonstactical for all you regular viewers. Thanks so much for hanging out and checking out some blades with me. Now, let's dive right in with what makes the XL version such a good knife. Now, when the original VAER dropped using MagnaCut in what we now know is basically accepted as probably the best HRC from a factory-made pocket knife. Now you can get a custom and get all these like perfectly dialed in stuff, but 62 to 64 HRC on the hardness scale for MagnaCut. You know, I mean, that they were doing that, giving us aluminum handles, crossbar lock, just fit the hand, really checked all the boxes. And well, you know, like not quite 150, I think it was like 160 maybe when that originally dropped. Great little pocket EDC, but it's, you know, like a gentleman folder really. I wouldn't go out and do hard tasks, go help somebody move necessarily with that unless I was restricted by blade length. Then, and I said that at the time, like, let's get an extra large version. Boom. About a year later, we get an extra large version. Everything we know, but now we got full real estate with some extra length there. They give us G10 instead of aluminum for better texture. And then they give us 3.4 inches on that super slicey MagnaCut 6264 HRC. And able to still do it for under 200 bucks. So like 175 ballpark to 180, I think is like the going rate for these models. Crossbar, you know, ball bearing on the KVTs, ambidextrous, like really, my only critique was just that it was really boring. Apparently Kershaw heard that from me and probably others like me and you guys commenting and all that, because you guys move the needle for sure when you comment. For those who like the aluminum feel over the G10, now you can get the XL version in a blackout MagnaCut and with a blackout aluminum handle. Awesome. So now you can get a blackout version. For those who want like something a little more premium, this is the only one that's going to be over $200. This is like $210, I think, is the carbon fiber model. So you get the satin blade, carbon fiber model now. So if you like carbon fiber, it's your jam. Leave comments below. It didn't win out when we did our rating a while back for different handle materials. But I know that there's definitely a contingent of the pocket knife community. So please leave comments on, do you prefer aluminum? Do you prefer carbon fiber, or do you prefer G10 with these variants that currently exist? Hopefully they'll even do micarta can never be pleased. I'm a knife lover. I can't be pleased. What are you talking about? But you guys get what I'm saying. Okay, so that is the only one that's going to be currently in 2026 over $200 because of the carbon fibers. So it's not controversial to say that MagnaCut is the most well-rounded steel of the offerings that Kershaw now brings to the table. But what if you need maximum durability, toughness out of your blade? You love how slicey it is, but you just want it to be a workhorse. Well, that's where this variant comes into play, the CPM 3V version with green olive aluminum handle scales. And it's tough, but are there some possible drawbacks that you just need to be aware of with this steel? We're gonna get to that in just a second. Before we do though, gotta give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, which is VAER watches. This American-based company, founded right here in the USA, makes excellent field watches, guys. These things are so sick, been rocking them for over a year. I mean, I'm coming up, I think September will be 2 years that I've been sporting these on my wrist, taking them on wild adventures into the high country, wearing them to dinners out with Mrs. GT and everywhere in between. And they just work, dude. They just work with their stainless steel bodies, their screw down crowns to lock in that watertight capability. They come with quick release, quick change wristbands, sapphire crystal over the face. There's so many options, right? And this is kind of their standard S5 series, but you can go into like solar power, you can get automatics. There are like so many options that are available. They make excellent gifts. Everyone can use a good operational field watch timepiece. So I have a link popping up. It's in the description box below. And if you've never ordered through them before, you'll get prompted with an offer for 10% off your first purchase if you subscribe to their newsletter. So pretty sick. Check them out and stay on time for all those adventures that you have this summer. All right. So maybe saying that their drawbacks of 3V is a little over the top, but there are some definite attributes to the steel that you need to consider. Now, 3V is excellent for fixed blades. I have it on a ton of fixed blades because it is tough, and it's the toughest option of the three steels that you can choose from on the Bel Air currently. So if you are someone who really puts your blades to the test, really uses them hard on a regular basis, this is probably the right choice for you. You want that extra little bit of edge stability when you're going through leather, when you're going through a water hose, when you're slicing through cardboard, all of those things that you're going to be doing. You want that toughness because of the type of material and how hard you find yourself being on your tools. That's where the 3V really wins, in combination with its resharpening capability. This is the easiest of all three steels that is on the Bel Air XL that you can find to resharpen, and you can do that easily with like a field sharpener. All of these can be done. So, I mean, WorkSharp, you know, I bought my very first WorkSharp field sharpener over a decade ago, gifted so many of those things. I have like so many laying around. They recently sent me this one. This is their new Elite guided field sharpener. So it comes with 2 extra diamond stones on top of the original so that you have even better honing prowess, including an 800 and a 400 grit. So that just allows you to really fine tune these more premium steels. You don't really necessarily need that on like cheaper steels, but when we start talking about MagnaCut, now 3V, and our next runner-up steel, that's something that you need to consider, that you need to weigh when you are buying these type of knives, so that you're not just buying a new knife when it dulls because you don't know how to resharpen it. So those things are awesome, and you can do that with all three, but this one will take the least amount of effort. You can do it the fastest. 3V can do that. It will not hold its edge as long as the other 2 steels, including the MagnaCut. So you're going to be resharpening more frequently, but you're going to get that extra durability. So that's a trade-off that you need to weigh when you're considering this on a pocket knife. So if we got a true stainless, then the most well-rounded in MagnaCut, the toughest and easiest to resharpen in 3V, we gotta have edge retention, right? We gotta be able to have the longest cutting edge, and that's where the M4 variant comes into play. M4 steel is a high-speed tool steel. It is a carbon, so that is something that you need to watch out for. So almost every single one I've ever owned has a coating on it. Now, what does that mean? What do you want out of this tool? Well, one, Rust really isn't an issue for you. You live in a low humid environment like I do in the Rockies. Rust, like unless I leave it in the snow, nothing really rusts. So that's something that is nice. But if you live in Florida, it may not be the right choice. You're going to get staining on the edge pretty quick. And you're going to have the longest edge retention. So you're going to be able to keep that edge the longest. So if you just don't enjoy resharpening, it's not something you like to do, maybe you're not very good at it, and you just want that edge to hold and hold and hold, that's where the M4 comes into play, and that's where you would probably connect with. I love M4. I have it on a couple different blades, but something to just be aware of, on my Benchmade bailout in M4, they're doing 62 to 64 HRC. Kershaw, they're doing 60 to 62, which is usually the protocol. That's what most companies do. Spyderco does that with their M4, on their Tenacious that they did, like stuff like that. But Benchmade is opting for maximum edge retention and sacrificing a little bit of durability. Now, on this little pocket knife, do you really need durability? I mean, again, you have to weigh that. I would argue probably not. But that's something to just kind of be aware of, that. And it's funny because we give Benchmade a hard time with the Magna cuts because they use 60-62 instead of 62-64. And this is nuance, guys. I mean, you have to be a knife nerd. You have to be using your knife daily for like a couple hundred cuts for you to probably really see a difference between all these steels in their wear resistance. So it's going to be the long haul or the hard user that's really going to see differences in these edge retentions and wear resistance and toughness and all that stuff. But it's just a little data point. It would have been nice to see them even bump it up and go for max, take it to 11, but this is still very doable, and you're going to see a slight edge, literally, on the M4 version than you will on the Magna Cut for that edge retention part. So lots of options to choose from, which is super exciting. But which one would I go with here on the table if you didn't have any? Like, what would be my recommendation to start this jump off, right? And there are great options out there as well. I mean, you know, Buck has their Range series now, excellent Magna Cut, aluminum washers, so cool, different design for sure, a little bit actually like arguably tougher grind geometry because of the saber and stuff, but it's $220. You know, I mean, that's getting a little up there for sure. Links for all these things that we're talking about in the description box below, popping up, you know, wherever you guys want to check them out. And so, but that's a great option kind of in this right around that price point. And then you can't forget about the HOGUE MYSTO, phenomenal blade, different, not as slicey, but you get cool rich light and topo and water and fire. They have all these different variants, and the green is titanium. So those are some really cool attributes in that as well. Kershaw in the XL for size, value, and options now really, to me, seems to be like king of the castle. So I would say it's the EMT version. That's the one that I would start with all over again if I could. Just kidding. Just kidding. We'll get to that one in just a second, but I just had to touch on this one. There is that EMT version both in orange G10, but also black G10. Nice rounded snub nose, partially serrated blade, and a true standoff carbide glass breaker on the back. So for EMTs, but also maybe like as a dive knife because it's in Magna Cut, or you just do a lot of like working around boats and things that could puncture easily. This might make a lot of sense when you're like cordage and puncturing are an issue that you want to like look at and consider. This is definitely a good variant, and again, under 200 bucks. Of all the ones that we highlighted today and touched on the table, the one that I would start with first, if you don't have any, would actually not be on this table at all. I haven't talked about it at all. But it's one that I have just purchased, and it is the Tiger Stripe variant in Magna Cut with black G10. Knife Center, Blade HQ, both have it. I just purchased it, picked it up. It's on the way. So I'll do like a little photo or something later. I love tiger striping, and I love the G10 handle. So that actually is kind of like a limited thing, I think. But you can check those out. Those are popping up. So I think probably for the average user, the Magna Cut versions, and you know, you choose which, you know, handle material and coating, non-coating that you want. That would probably make the most sense. But if you were to ask me a runner-up, I would say probably actually the 3V would be the one that I just connect with the most currently of these outside of the Tiger Stripe Magna Cut with G10. So guys, that is me and my mileage. Let me know what you think about this design, the XL. Now with all these variants, what's your favorite steel choice? If you would only carry one or have already picked one up, like which ones have you chosen and why? Always appreciate your guys' feedback. Always appreciate hanging out with you. Thanks so much. Till next time, always remember to stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.